Hi, my name is Hallie Johnson. So after researching and looking through project-based learning and specific examples of project-based learning, I have decided on a project that would be fit for fourth graders in covering both the subjects of history and science. So fourth grade throughout all the states in America is when the students learn about their state history as well as some pretty basic US history. So I live in Utah, so I'm just going to use Utah as an example. If I was a teacher in Utah and I had 20 students, I would find 20 species that are native or commonly found in Utah. So I'd have a list of 20 species, and the students will all either be assigned or they'd get to pick one of the 20 species, so it's unique to each student. Before we would start the actual project, we would start by laying basic foundations that would require remembering. So we would learn what a habitat is, what a life cycle is, and what that looks like, and then basics about energy, like either photosynthesis or eating or just obtaining energy. So once that is remembered, we then move on to understanding. So I would be asking the students, okay, which one of these is a habitat? Which one of these describe to me a life cycle? After that, we would go into applying. So we would look at their species, and after some basic research help, so just defining a credible source, which would look very different for a fourth grader than it would for a college student. They look into their species and they see, okay, let's say I have a toad. They understand what habitat a toad lives in. They understand the life cycle of a toad, and they are able to understand how a toad eats and what they eat. After that, we move into analyzing. So they're able to see, okay, so a toad lives in what areas, but so would a turtle. They can make the connection that, or they can form the relationship of amphibians and reptiles and wet areas. They're also able to understand that a lot of amphibians might eat the same sorts of foods. So building the relationship between their species and other species, and their habitats and how they all correlate. While they're doing their research to build their portfolio on their species, they are doing a lot of evaluating. So they're taking in information, and they're able to say this isn't applicable to my species, or this would be perfect to include in my portfolio, or this is even about my species, or maybe this isn't even true, or it doesn't seem true. And while they're doing this, the entire time, they're creating this portfolio that they will eventually be showing to the class. And so they are showing all the levels of Bloom's taxonomy as they go through each of the different steps in creating this portfolio. Once the unit is complete, the students have a better understanding. They can look outside and they can see like a bird, and their species might have been that bird, and they know a lot more about that bird. They understand a lot more about their environment and their state just because of a simple but fun project-based learning. Because it is specific to each student, no student will have the same species, it does create some individuality in the project, and it creates a sense of like pride in being the one to represent that species. So that is the project that I would choose. Thank you.